Your phone is running a reward schedule casinos learn to respect. You know the list on your desk matters more. You still unlock the phone, swipe down, see no message, lock it, and check again 5 minutes later. Sometimes you open one app, then another, then forget what you were about to do. That feels like weak discipline. It feels like a short attention span. But inside that loop is a named mechanism: variable ratio reinforcement, the same basic reward schedule studied in gambling and in B.F. Skinner's operant conditioning work. The payoff is not steady. That is the point. What you do not know, in the moment you call yourself lazy or scattered, is that this may be a training problem before it is a character problem. The phone is not winning because it matters more than your work. It is winning because it is better at building a checking habit through random rewards. Knowing better does not stop a well-trained schedule. By the end of this, the thing you call bad focus will have a mechanism, and the glowing screen will look less like temptation and more like conditioning. If the reward is often nothing, why does the checking continue? Variable ratio reinforcement means a reward arrives after an unpredictable number of actions. You do not know whether the next check will give you a message, a like, a useful update, a joke, or nothing. In behavior science, that uncertainty matters because it keeps the action going. Skinner's work on operant conditioning established the broad principle. Behavior shaped by reinforcement can become persistent, and unpredictable schedules are especially resistant to stopping. The popular summary is sometimes oversimplified, but the core finding is solid. Inside the brain, one important system involves dopamine. In plain language, that chemical helps stamp in learning about cues, effort, and pursuit. It is not just pleasure. Wolfram Schultz and colleagues documented that this system responds strongly to unexpected rewards and to cues that predict possible reward. A phone is built from those cues. The screen lights up, a badge appears, you pull to refresh. Each of those events can signal a possible payoff before the payoff is known. Another system matters too. Cognitive control, centered partly in the prefrontal cortex, helps you hold a goal in mind. That system works slower and costs effort. So one side offers instant uncertain payoff. The other offers delayed certain effort. That mismatch shapes what gets repeated every day. That is why the problem feels irrational from the inside. Your to-do list is clear. The return is obvious. Finish the task, and something real moves forward. But the list usually pays late. The phone pays maybe, now, with almost no effort. Random rewards beat clear intentions. Behavior follows what gets reinforced, not what gets praised in theory. A single useful message can train many empty checks around it. One funny post can sit between long stretches of nothing and still keep the feed pool alive. In gambling research, this pattern is well established. Uncertain reward can maintain repeated behavior even when outcomes are inconsistent. Phones do not need to reward you every time. They need to keep open the possibility that the next glance might matter. The modern environment multiplies that possibility. Notifications arrive at irregular times. Social approval is delayed and bunched. News updates break without warning. Infinite scroll removes a natural stopping cue. Pull to refresh is literally built like another try. Even boredom becomes part of the loop, because checking can also reward you with relief from having to stay with one hard task. This does not mean the device is using one single mechanism and nothing else. Habit learning, novelty seeking, social reward, and simple convenience all add weight. Researchers still debate how neatly gambling models map onto every part of smartphone use. But the basic schedule is real, and the daily effect is easy to see. The lowest effort action gets the richest stream of possible rewards, while meaningful work asks for sustained effort before anything happens. That is the exact point where Skinner's experiments become more than an old lab result. In those experiments, the important detail is not just that unpredictable rewards create persistence. It is that the behavior can stay high even when many attempts pay nothing. Under a variable ratio schedule, the next response still feels live. That is the piece most people miss when they think, if my phone is usually disappointing, why do I keep checking it? The empty check does not always weaken the loop. In the right schedule, it can be part of the schedule. That is why the modern gesture is so sticky. You unlock, no message. You close the app. 2 minutes later you open it again, with a small sense that this time could be different. Skinner's reinforcement findings gave the backbone for that pattern. When reward is uncertain, Organisms often respond at high, steady rates, and the behavior is hard to extinguish. But there is a detail almost everyone gets wrong here. The trap is not constant reward. Constant reward becomes predictable. The stronger trap is uncertain reward combined with near zero friction. The phone is always within reach. The trial cost is tiny. A glance in line, a swipe at a red light, a check while a file loads. That means the schedule gets repeated hundreds of times where older environments would have forced a pause. Then the problem stops being about one habit and starts becoming about competition between two kinds of payoff. Work that matters often pays late. In psychology, this is described through temporal discounting and effort discounting. In plain terms, the brain values what is available now, and it discounts what arrives later or costs more energy now. Your to-do list usually offers no novelty burst, no social signal, no easy relief, and often no reward until the task is done. The phone offers repeated chances at all four. A day can disappear this way without ever looking dramatic. You spend an hour in fragments. 10 half-open tabs. One draft started, then abandoned. The priority item is still untouched, but you were active the whole time. And across years, that trade compounds. Oliver Burkeman makes the arithmetic plain. A human life of about 4,000 weeks feels long until you keep spending its best focused minutes on sampling instead of building. Then repetition turns into identity. Sophie Leroy's work on attention residue showed that after switching tasks, part of your attention remains stuck on the previous one. So when you come back to the hard task, it feels heavier than it should. You read that heaviness as personal failure. Over time, smart people start saying I am lazy, I cannot focus, I always do this. If a reward schedule helped train the loop, and repeated failure helped train the self-story, what changes the pattern without adding more guilt? The turn is this. You do not beat a random reward loop by arguing with it. You change what gets practiced. The brain changes with repetition. That capacity is called neuroplasticity. In plain language, the system learns the pattern you run most often. If the day is built around easy cues, fast checking, and occasional surprise payoffs, that is the pattern being strengthened. If you reduce those cues and make work easier to enter and easier to complete, you start training a different pattern. This is why willpower alone fails so often. Willpower has to act after the cue appears and after the possibility of reward is already live. Environmental design works earlier. It changes the number of times the loop even starts. Fewer alerts, fewer visible badges, fewer auto-logins, fewer apps on the first screen. Each one removes a cue or adds friction. In behavior terms, that is cue routine restructuring. In plain language, you stop giving the checking loop so many cheap chances to fire. The other half is just as important. Real work usually loses because its reward is delayed and vague. So the fix is not to pretend the phone is tempting less. The fix is to make useful work more learnable. Break the task into a small visible unit. Define what done means before you begin. Put the next step where you can see it. Attach an immediate completion signal when the unit ends. That can be crossing off a concrete step, standing up for a short walk, or taking a planned break. The reward is modest, but it arrives on time. This does not copy the phone exactly, and it should not. It gives your focus system a clearer training pattern, fewer random trials, more direct links between effort and completion. The practical shift is simple. Stop asking how to resist the phone in the moment, and start asking how to redesign the schedule your behavior is learning from. Start with the cue layer. Turn off non-essential notifications. Log out of the apps you check reflexively. Move them off the home screen. Use grayscale if color pulls you in. Keep the phone out of reach during one defined work block, not all day. Then replace open access with check windows. If messages and feeds are only available at set times, the number of random reward trials drops. That matters because the loop weakens when it gets fewer chances to run. Then fix the work side. Do not write vague entries like work on project. Write the next visible unit. Outline the first paragraph. Reply to one email, reviewed 2 pages, rename the files. Put one task in view, not 10. Give it a clear finish line you can hit in one sitting. When it is done, mark it complete and take a brief planned reset. That immediate signal is not fake motivation. It is a cleaner learning pattern than waiting hours for a distant payoff. Then repair the self-story with language that matches the mechanism. Not I am bad at focus. Not I always waste time. The accurate frame is simpler. Random rewards beat clear intentions unless you redesign the system. When you reach for the phone in the middle of a hard task, that movement is not the truth about your character. It is a trained response to an environment that made checking cheap and work delayed. That is the answer to the problem the video opened with. Your phone beats the to-do list not because your work matters less, and not because you are weak. It wins because random rewards train persistent checking. Change the schedule, and valuable work can compete again. You are not broken. You were trained by the wrong schedule, and schedules can be changed. If this changed how you see it, the next video goes deeper into attention and behavior design. Until then, treat the urge to check as conditioning, not a verdict.